Hey guys, I'm Francis the instructor, and if you're watching this video, then you're thinking about learning to drive, and I'm going to help you find a driving instructor. There's different ways of finding a driving instructor. You can find a driving instructor by searching for them on Google. It's a really good way of finding someone through Google because you get to see reviews, same way as Facebook. I think it's 70% of people find their driving instructor through recommendations. You can go on Trustpilot, see even more reviews, and you can use the Get Licensed directory. Click here to find it. Get Licensed directory is a really easy to use directory of driving instructors where you can search by vehicle type, price, area, and there's so many more customizable options to help you filter out your perfect driving instructor. So the first thing that you want to think about, do you want to learn auto or manual? Automatic has no gears, has no clutch. It's a little bit simpler to drive. You get to focus on just driving while the car takes care of some of the more complicated bits of how to drive. Manual, you get to have a full manual driving license, and it will say on your driving license whether it's automatic or manual. Having a manual license means you can drive any car. Having an automatic license means you can only drive automatic cars. So it's worth bearing in mind what car you might want to drive when you pass your driving test. So there's a few things that you're going to want to consider before you start taking lessons or before you look for an instructor. What car do they drive? How flexible are they? What's their availability? Does it match yours? How much are they charging for driving lessons? Does it fit your budget? Are you going to be able to pay 40 plus lessons worth of that? Also, don't forget, you're going to have to pay for the theory test, driving test, and maybe any resits that you might have to do. It costs a lot of money to learn how to drive. On average, it's going to take you 40 hours of tuition, and on average, lessons cost £24 an hour. They range from about £20 up to about £30. If you need specialist tuition, maybe even up to £40. So what you don't want to do is start lessons with a limited budget, get halfway through, run out, and then have to wait to save up again because you're going to get skill fade. When you're thinking about price though, it's not always the best idea to go with the cheapest. Think about this. You're going to need to take quite a lot of lessons to learn how to drive. On average, it takes about 40 hours worth of lessons to pass your driving test. If you go with the cheapest and they're not the best, it might even take a bit longer. You might fail your driving test a couple of times, so bear that in mind when you're looking at price. When you're looking at price, you could also think about discounts. Does your driving instructor offer discounts? £1 per lesson even can add up to quite a lot, because if you're going to do 40 hours, £1 times 40, £2 times 40, it's all going to add up after a while. If you've got any special educational requirements, like any disabilities or maybe you're slightly older, there are driving instructors that specialize in what you need. Have a quick look on Google. If you're deaf, if you have any learning difficulties, if you're slightly older, maybe if you're really nervous, you will find a driving instructor who specializes in your needs. They might charge a little bit more, they might be a little bit more specialized, and you might need to travel a little bit to get to them, but persevere. Everybody should have the right to drive, and somebody out there will be able to help you. There are different types of driving school. You've got independent driving schools, national driving schools, and local driving instructors. Your local driving instructors are like, you see the guy's name on the top of the car. Those guys are going to help you. They're going to be able to cater to your needs. If you've got any special requirements, they're going to be more flexible and likely to help you out. Local driving schools are going to have 10 to maybe 60 instructors in your local area. They'll probably be more flexible with you, but have less flexibility than your local independent instructor. The big national schools like AA, BSM, and Bill Plant, they've got a lot of instructors. They'll be able to back up anyone that goes sick. So if one of their instructors goes sick and they were teaching you, they'll be able to provide someone else to step in at short notice. Something else to consider, you're going to spend a lot of time with your driving instructor, 40 plus hours in fact. You need to be able to get on with them. You need to be able to have a good rapport with them. It's going to have to be someone you get along with and you like. You also want to think about what area your driving instructor works in. If you're from Watford and you know a guy in Northampton who's got a really good driving instructor, yeah, you can't use them because your driving instructor is not going to drive from Northampton to Watford to give you a driving lesson. It's just not viable. Learning to drive is a local thing. You want a driving instructor that's local to you, someone that knows the roads that you live around, someone that can take you to your local test centre. So take a photo of their roof box. It's an advert for their car. You'll also know what car you're about to teach in, and maybe if the instructor's there as well, you'll get to speak to them before you do any driving lessons, so you know if you two are likely to get on. What you could also do is stop someone and ask for their business card. I always have people stop me while I'm driving and they ask me for a card. It's such a good way of finding a driving instructor. If you've met the guy, he's given you a card, you've had the opportunity to speak to him already, you know that his car's clean, you know the guy's presentable, and you already have an idea of whether you're going to get on with them or not. When you find a driving instructor, if they're going to charge you to learn how to drive, they're going to need to be an approved driving instructor, ADI. or at least a PDI. I spoke a little bit about this in the last video that I did. A PDI is basically a trainee driving instructor, and there's nothing wrong with that. Their knowledge is going to be fresh. They're going to have recently just learned all the subjects that it takes to be able to be qualified as a driving instructor, so they're going to be really, really hot, enthusiastic, and they might even charge a little bit less. If you are considering only learning with friends and family, I would highly recommend using a driving instructor, at least for the very beginning, difficult subjects like controls and instruments, moving away and stopping, how to use mirrors safely. Bear in mind, there's lots of dangerous elements to learning to drive. You're controlling a car at speeds of up to 70 miles an hour. On that note, let's go driving. Learning to drive should be so much fun. You should really enjoy your driving lessons. If you're not enjoying your driving lessons, it might be time to think about choosing another driving instructor. I love driving so much. I'm enthusiastic and I'm passionate. Your driving instructor should be enthusiastic and passionate about driving as well. If they sit there on their phone, hey, it's time to find another driving instructor. It's like this, learning to drive is a bit like getting your hair cut. If the salon messes your hair up, are you gonna go back to that salon? I wouldn't. Guess what happened to me? 20 years ago, salon messed my hair up. Didn't have the option to not go back because, hey, hilarious, I'm hilarious. Thank you. You can always find another driving instructor. There's loads out there, there's loads in your area, and you're not tied to one person. Once they have got you to a certain point, if they say something that makes you feel uncomfortable, or they do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, find another instructor, tell them where you got up to. Let's say I did roundabouts on my last lesson. Your next instructor will be able to pick up at roundabouts and help you progress up to your driving test. If your driving instructor suddenly becomes unavailable, find another driving instructor. So in summary, you should feel like you love driving. If you don't feel inspired and motivated to learn to drive, you haven't got a very good teacher. Find a really good teacher, find someone who's motivated and passionate to teach you how to drive, and you're onto a winner. Also, tell other people about that driving instructor. Good driving instructors, really good ones, are hard to come by. Help everyone else by finding and recommending that guy too. Find me on Insta at Francis the Instructor and follow at Get Licensed Driving School for all the latest information, videos and useful tips for helping you to learn how to drive.